Okay.
We are recording.
Okay, his name is Eltheen, I believe. And he's Yahyel, and he just came forward to speak with us about exopolitics, I guess, politics. Um, so he wants to come through and say something. Yes, this is good enough. We are here with you. There is some disruption, but we are here now. We know you have questions regarding this political matter. Please ask.
Is there, you've obviously been listening to us. Is there anything that you would like to address specifically or get our thoughts on specifically? Or I'm not sure where to begin. That might be a good place.
We must enhance the connection first. One moment, please. Yes, this is much better. Yes, could you please repeat your question?
The question was, wondering if there was anything that you were listening to with us that you would like to expand on, or if there's questions you had for us regarding the specific topics we were talking about. I guess that would probably be a good place to start.
Well, we believe it would be best. We are still having some technical difficulties with the communication channel, but we will do what we can with this format of communication. So we would like to particularly communicate this through this means regarding the political aspects which you were previously referring. Now, there is much to know regarding politics in many regions of your space. And in your space, there is many things that are occurring simultaneously and in other collective systems of similar vibrational dimensional planes, we will say, for limitations of vocabulary. Now, there are times when we see you as very close, intimate family, but there are also times we cannot fully relate and understand things that you are talking about, and primarily your government's requirements for contact. Because of this contact limitations, we are having difficulty with speaking with your proper representatives who represent larger collective consciousness of humanity. So for this reason, we think that there is a discrepancy between these collective groups of government versus, perhaps not versus, but different groups of collective consciousness and governmental groups. So there are many desyncs in this regard, as we ironically are communicating with you desynced, but we are conscious of your communicative ideologies, as you have previously spoken regarding exopolitics and politics in general. And we have seen much of these changes in other societies and their abilities to overcome such turmoil within selective groups of humanity. Please, if there are any questions, just ask.
Is right now, there's a lot of political turmoil happening, not just in the US, but in other parts of the world now, but particularly we're focused on the US because that's where I happen to be. Is this an actual concern that's interfering with the communications between the 3D versus the alien population, or is this just a little blip in the radar that is nothing that's to be of concern?
It is more than a little blip, unfortunately. Although from a galactic perspective, it may only seem as a blip in time, but there is much that is to happen during this time period that you humans must overcome. And this can be difficult with such resistance fighting against you, as you want to naturally be yourselves, but you find forces externally forcing you to be a particular way. So there is a problem in communication between good and bad and forces of positive nature and forces of negative nature.
What, from your perspective, what is the biggest or most concerning issue that you see happening on the planet right now, that you see as maybe a major concern, a detriment, or a roadblock to something positive in the future?
If there is civil war amongst Americans, this is a big deal regarding society at this time. Over several years, humanity has leveled out its angers towards a unified means, towards a unified humanity, we will say. And that has been perfect for our establishment with you as a collective. But this civil war is a step in the wrong direction, as it causes chaos on many layers that society itself is not synchronized with other groups of your own people.
Do you, when you reference civil war, in your mind, are you thinking about a flat out, full out violent war, or are you maybe just referencing the deep division that's occurring ideologically?
Civil war is disconnection between individuals. It is disconnection between the collective group and a governmental group. This is what we had previously referred to as the disconnect.
Okay, so it's a disconnection as opposed to actual violent war.
Disconnection can lead to war. Separation can lead to chaos if it is not tempered. And when one is wounded, one can use searing heat to close the wound. It may not look pretty, but it does the trick. And in one way, a group may come to sear this wound shut, which may initially seem overbearing at the time, but it will resolve the conflict quickly before the being bleeds out. Does this make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, and in fact, it makes so much sense. I'm able to understand that clearly, and it just makes me wonder whether or not you have more insight as to what is actually happening or going to happen than what you're actually sharing with us right now.
We can see patterns that are arising. As stated before, I am a specialist regarding interspeciation relations and other unifications of new groups to groups of unfamiliar species. Now, these trends repeat from society to society. And because of the repetition, it presents trends in the energetic waveforms that are presented upon the collective consciousness of humanity.
With respect to the conversation that we were having before, that we understand you may have been listening to some of it or all of it, are there aspects with listening to what we were talking about, are there other things that we should be thinking about, concerned about, and talking about that we haven't been?
When you say we,
I'm referring to the three of us in this group, excluding yourself, meaning the three of us when we talk, we're voicing our concerns, giving our opinions, and recognizing that we have only a limited view and you have a different perspective. And I'm wondering if there are other considerations that need to be taken into account that we have not thought of.
Yes, this is true. There are many angles to each solution. And when one can find the right angle, then they can find the right solution to solve the problem. But given your group's particular affiliations with governmental society and the interwovenness of government to your affiliated group, we understand even if you had the answers, you would not reach the government's proper location where the information must be sent.
And what is currently blocking that communication with the government?
You are not in your political program, nor Senate or governmental societies. Therefore, as a citizen, you have those limitations associated with it.
Correct, but I was speaking specifically about the government entities that exist. And is there some are you having some difficulty communicating with those government branches of government on moving on the path forward? Is there some roadblocks that are happening? And if so, what are those roadblocks or what's causing them?
This is a good question. Many messages are coming through, but because of politics, groups clash, and particular individuals within particular domains of control have different agendas to achieve a similar means. Because of the difference in a way to achieve a means, there is a problem in communication in high end government. Does this make sense?
Yes. Do you know what the causes of those communication problems are? I mean, the sources of them?
As stated before, the individuals upon your Senate platform cannot come to a mutual agreement. This is causing many faults down the line between your people and our inability to speak publicly with your friends and family.
I'm going to ask a question that Alicia has written, and she's asking, in regards to other planets that you've worked with to bring about first contact, how long does it take for first agreement with various galactic groups for actual first contact to happen on that planet?
It is variable between different planets, but there is a general time scale that this does occur within. Now, depending on politics and society's polarity, that there are many different factors that are a part of this equation. When species are more aggressive, it is important that they are better schooled and educated in communication skills between different species. When a aggressive species comes to intermingle with other species, it can be difficult if there is no predisposition and no education, because they can act aggressively to those peaceful nations which wish to trade and associate and learn from these particular societies. With this in mind, we would say it takes a variable amount of time, from 100 to 8,000 to 1,200 approximately years, depending on not only aggression levels, but also culture.
How long has there been dialogue with planet Earth on first contact? Has it been happening for a long time? And
Yeah,
where are we in the spectrum of a transition?
contact has been happening between your government and royal beings on your planet for approximately 412 years. You have been processing these ideals for some time already. We know you have more to say.
And I take it there are other planets in existence to where they were isolated to themselves, such as Earth is now, for the most part, and you have made contact. Does it have those past first contact experiences that you've had with other planets? Does that give you predictors of what's going to happen when you try to make first contact on Earth and what to prepare for?
It does. It gives us patterns which we can decipher like algorithms to stay clearly in simplicity. These patterns and algorithms allow us models which allow us to predict behavioral trends and approximate times it will take to achieve such a desired goal.
So it sounds like you mentioned algorithms, but it also sounds like there is a set, almost a set process or procedures that you follow in order to make first contact happen. Is that correct?
Yes, this is
Okay. And if that's the case, are there various phases within the procedures between the phase one, phase two, phase three, etc., that you must achieve in order to make first contact? And if so, what phase is Earth in right now?
it is true there are phases that occur when societies are integrating between each other and humanity would be approximately stage 3 of 4. Now, there is a fifth stage that may be required with particular species. Humans are aggressive in nature. They have characteristics of beings of battle. They are warriors, many of the people. Because of this, your mixed planet has a possibility of having this extra layer. So, this is an introduction of a variable timeline which may occur.
Okay. And sorry, my dog barked and it threw me off my track of questions. Oh, with regards to other races and first contact, is there conflict among the intergalactic races about agendas, intentions to what each race wants to happen independently of the other races when first contact is actually made? Meaning, is there disputes going on intergalactically as to what should happen when first contact is made?
Firstly, we would like to say that there was an individual who represented their collective individuality. We are a new being of a similar race, and we apologize they were kicked off of the stream, not by us, but due to technical difficulties. They had difficulty with the connection. So, regarding your question, is it all right if we help you with such procurement of an answer?
Yes. Well, before that, let me ask, what has changed just now? Are you a different being who we were just speaking to, or a different collective?
We are a different being, yet we are part of the same collective.
Are you still Yahyel?
We are, yes.
Okay. Well, it sounds like the connection is clearer. So yeah, yes, I would be comfortable with you answering my question as to if there's any, conflict between the various races as to their varying agendas as to what should happen when first contact is made on Earth.
This is a very complex question. It has many nuances. Humanity is not aware of all of the species who wish to communicate with you at this time. There are many channels spread across the planet at this time, and yet not all species have yet had an opportunity to come forward to communicate what they wish regarding connections with the planet and things that they would like to do with the planet. But we will say this, because we are not able to fully address your question properly. There are species who are interested in the flora of your planet. They are only interested in the flora. They have no interest in communicating with humans. Now, keep this in mind. There are other species who wish to collect specimens of fauna, the animals, the fish, the birds, the bugs upon the planet, and yet care not for the flora nor the humans, as there are many species who have been gifted to the planet Earth, who are not present in many different systems. Like your duck-billed platypus, for example. It is a rare creation and a gift. Now, there are species who are specifically interested in the connection between humanity, the people of Terra, and their species. This is for reasons of trade. This is for reasons of science. And then there are beings who are interested in Terrans for the requirement of battle. So there are many different species, each with their own particular agenda, and they would do what they can to achieve a means that will fulfill their desires. Does this satisfy your question? We understand it is not directly answering it.
Well, it does provide some insight. And the next question that comes to mind is, does the Earth have a credible representation to distinguish between what's in Earth's best interest versus making any nefarious or greedy deals with any species that want things that are not in Earth's best interests? You know, are there going to be leaders who are going to be standing up and representing Earth and negotiating in good faith? And or are there going to be other people in communication negotiating with species that would not be in Earth's favor?
It is a common trend for humans and other level 1 planetary beings to make foolish mistakes when first transitioning from planetary to spacefaring societies. This is a common occurrence and a trend that does occur. So this is something to keep in mind. There are always growing pains when going from learning how to crawl to learning how to walk. There are bumps and grinds, and oftentimes you will fall many times before learning how to run. And this is a normal process of development. But make sure that when you are learning how to run, those who you affiliate yourself with, you find yourself in a place of cushioning. And rather than having a child run around with knives all over the floor, where it is an obviously dangerous situation, you would have yourself associated with beings who have your best interest in mind, who provide cushions rather than knives surrounding you if you make a mistake. So to this regard, we would say it is important to choose the beings that you associate with great, we would say it is important for you to find those beings who you can trust as a collective, not just from an individual governmental basis or from those of your political background.
It also sounds like to me that, I mean, if there's various interests or agendas by the various different alien races, that there's also going to be conflict within the Earth's within Earth, on Earth, between the various governments and their alternative agendas, because each government or each region is also going to have its own agendas. And do you see that there's going to be a major clash between various regions on Earth and what they want from the various alien races, as well as a clashing with the various alien races and what they want on Earth?
To simplify, when you have two parents with two different ways to teach their child one particular lesson, it is quite common to have a discrepancy between the husband and wife. Now, if you imagine each of your governmental bodies are like parents to the public, the people, it is like having each governmental body represent their own particular ideals and ways that they would like the child to be taught and educated. So it is like you have 40 parents and each of them has their own way to teach you. It is up to the parents to be able to unify and discuss their ideals, not in front of the children, but privately, so that they can come to a common ground and make the discussions that are important behind closed doors, so the child is not confused.
I understand. And do these potential points of conflict between the regions and between the races, do all of those issues need to be addressed and resolved before first contact can actually happen? Meaning, does a negotiation have to take place and finalize before first contact can happen?
First contact has already happened, but you are referring to a larger scale of contact, are you not?
Correct. Why first contact to the general population?
Ah, there are things that must take place first, but not all of these, which we have previously mentioned, we apologize, must be mentioned and resolved. It is a transition which you are undergoing at this time. And in this transition, there will be phases of bumps and grinds. And these bumps and grinds can be overcome, and they will be assisted by friendly groups who wish to help you. These friendly groups are like babysitters who come to train you when your parents are not around. Now, we understand your government takes a back seat sometimes, and they step away for work, for taking care of things of war, things of politics, and things of resource management. And during this time, babysitters come to take care of the children. Sometimes a babysitter can come with such wisdom, it can convince the parents a new way to teach the child a particular task. And this new way may connect the parents together.
Are there currently any alien races out there that are still interested in human DNA and collecting that human DNA?
Many, many, many different species, yes.
And why is human DNA still needed to be obtained when, from our knowledge, it has already been obtained by various races? Why can't that knowledge just be shared?
Because it is a valuable resource.
Okay, so stop looking at it from a human perspective on taking DNA as opposed to considering it as a resource to others, a commodity.
It is a commodity. It is a transitory genetic component, which is required when integrating particular species of non-terrestrial species together. It is like an enzyme. It is the catalyst for the enzymes to work together for many species. So it has a very high demand, as there are many species who have cohabitated together for eons and eons, yet they have not been able to reproduce naturally, yet they have great desire to do so. But
And how do they,
genetics.
I'm sorry, how do they actually obtain DNA? Does it actually require a human to extract the DNA?
It is required that it is taken from a physical way, we would say.
And is that done in secret? Is it done through abductions? Is it done, covertly?
There are many ways to take DNA, if you wish to say take. But there are many things. We apologize, there is some disruption. The channel's body is becoming very uncomfortable, and it is becoming more difficult to sustain proper connection. We understand these questions are important, as does the channel, and it is important that we address them as best we can. But perhaps it would be best if we continued at a different time to organize this in a more appropriate manner.
Okay. Do you have when would be a more appropriate time for you, or what are the conditions that make it easier for you to communicate with us?
This is an excellent question. If you had someone present to hold the space, as one says, this provides a familiar ground. It provides a space where we can stretch out. And as we are greatly powerful beings, we require more space than average. So this would be beneficial.
Are you communicating via telepathically right now, or are you using technology to actually make that telepathic connection?
We are enhancing our connection using telepathy and also organic enhancements.
Okay. Well, we have someone here that can help hold the space open. We could do our best to try to do that. We try to meet every Friday, which is this day of the week today, every 7 days from now. I don't know how that works with your scheduling. I don't even know if that's relevant in your dimension. But that's how we work here on Earth.
We will accommodate. the best.
Okay. We appreciate you coming through and providing us the answers. We do have lots more questions. We find your information enlightening, which only provokes more questions. So we enjoy learning as much as we can.
We are very glad to hear that. That is the nature of a good question. It provides more opportunity to ask more questions. So we thank you for the proper questions.
We thank you for the right answers.
Right is perspective, remember.
Yes.
Well, we must leave for now. We will return at a different date and time and return the channel.
Okay, many blessings to you.
Blessings to you and your loved ones. Goodbye.
Goodbye.